Hey everyone! You were probably forced to celebrate Christmas in November by supermarkets and other public spaces. You were probably forced to listen to a Christmas-themed breakup song. Now it is January and it has befallen me to force you to celebrate Christmas in January. Life is short, so let's get into it. These sparks are all made for someone by their respective secret Santas. But how the parks and the recipient relate to each other often either does not matter or requires intimate knowledge about the people in our community. In the top right corner there is also a score. That's how our society works. Everything needs to be assigned a numerical value. So anyway, the coaster that you've been looking at here is Riddler's Revenge. If I'm not mistaken, this is the one from Six Flags New England. This entry was made by Herbert. None of us guessed this creator correctly, earning him the special Deceiver award. Congratulations! It happens sometimes that you have relatively little time to make something. Using these terrain types you are actually able to create something relatively decent relatively quickly. I also like using this technique. The attentive viewer may notice that this is rather strange, that there are these flowers while there is also snow. It looks a little weird, but not ugly. Here is a recreation of a scene from the movie Whiplash, where there is a conductor who is really mean to a drummer, a beloved moment in cinema. This entry was made by Hex. Thank you, Hex. Here we see a common misunderstanding about Papa Neth. Papa Neth likes to advertise himself as Papa Netherlands, but he is actually not Dutch, so the text shouldn't be in Dutch. I believe it was mentioned somewhere where he was actually from, but he's probably from the US because I don't remember. It's sort of funny how the wheels are turning, but the train doesn't move. There is probably a culture somewhere on Earth where the wheels are moving but the train is not, is a standard expression to describe that your life lacks a sense of progress. This entry was made by Napnight. Thank you, Napnight. This one is of course highly inappropriate, but the inclusion of the naked ladies in the game is questionable in the first place. If I were to have been in charge of the Wacky Worlds expansion pack, these scenery items would never have gotten approved. There are also these three items that are arranged in a manner to be suggestive of male genitalia. Nevertheless, the ball pit warrior is cool. He seems to be on drugs fighting imaginary enemies. I know at least a few of you for whom that is probably relatable. The women though, I have a hunch that quite a lot of Rollercoaster Tycoon players rarely see a woman in real life. It seems to me like a very virgin-heavy community. Maybe Ball Pit Warrior is one of the exceptions, but I know nothing about his personal life. But perhaps Josh knows him very well, because this entry was made by Josh. Thank you, Josh. It looks like all these peeps want to enter this house. They are trying the door and they are having a peek through the window as well. Perhaps they think they can get a beer here, but it's actually just somebody's house. Even more interesting is this bit right here, where the sleighs pass through what I can only describe as carbonated milk. This entry was made by Flixby, or perhaps the X are silent and it's just pronounced Flippy. Thank you, Flip. I'm not very experienced with real-life theme parks at all, but I have a suspicion that a ride like this is relatively boring. It just sort of goes in circles and you're not even on a horse. But I guess boring people also go to theme parks. Apparently this is a recreation of a ride in Hansa Park. Now, BE Player has actually made a recreation of Hansa Park in the past, but it didn't include this ride. I believe Metroliner is a ride that has already been demolished. From 2006 to 2015 it was called El Paso Express and had a marginally superior theming to what we see here. I think this should have been recreated instead. This entry was made by Elutan. Thank you, Elutan. Now, here we see something of which many among us do not know what it is. This is a good example of why it is often useful to include a story with your entry. This is actually the United States spacecraft Discovery 1, which is a fictional spaceship featured in the first 2 novels of the Space Odyssey series by Arthur C. Clarke, and in the films 2001 A Space Odyssey, directed by Stanley Kubrick, and 2010 The Year We Made Contact, directed by Peter Hyams, which hardcore sci-fi enthusiasts often proclaim to be a massively underrated movie. Something like this is really difficult to create, so the correct response is to be very impressed. You have to imagine that, if you are a fan of 2001 A Space Odyssey, this is probably really cool. This entry was made by Sordid. He received a lot of very high scores, but also a lot of very low scores, which earns him the special Avant-Garde Award. Congratulations. Hobion received 4 wrapped gifts, one of which is actually empty. The first of these gifts is Riddler's Revenge, and this is a different Riddler's Revenge than the one we saw earlier. This is the one from Six Flags Magic Mountain. Chris Sawyer actually omitted this ride in his recreation. It's supposed to be in this spot between the go-karts and the splash boats. This is meant to be Dark Souls. I'm glad that there's text explaining that. Dark Souls is a game where you defeat scary monsters or something, and I believe it is very difficult. And this is Goliath, which is a relatively good roller coaster in Walibi Holland, which is actually in Flevoland. This entry was made by BE Player. Thank you, BE Player. This is a recreation of Ride to Happiness in Plopsaland de Panne, which is an extreme spinning coaster. Unfortunately, the extreme spinning coaster is a ride type that the OpenRCT2 people have not made yet. So unfortunately it looks a little floopy when it goes through the inversions. Because the spinning Wild Mouse cars do not have sprites for inversions. I had no idea that Plopsaland also had these really intense rides. I was sort of thinking that they only had the type of rides that Kabouter Plop himself would be brave enough to ride. This entry was made by Low Poly. Thank you, Low Poly. This one is absurdly small. In Dutch we have this saying, wie het kleine niet eert, is het grote niet weert. But that's something old people used to say. If you rotate it, it falls apart. It only works from one angle. So this could also be an entry for Mini Contest 51, which it isn't. Obviously, or at least in my eyes, this entry was made by the guy famous for his small entries. Wes. Thank you, Wes. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Therefore, this Secret Santa wisely recreated some of Fitwell's builds. This house is from the 2-hour mini contest, this building is from Dive Coaster Contest 3, and this building is from the RMC Conversion Contest. He also sent Fitwell a cute message in which he playfully thanked Fitwell for his tutorials. You should also subscribe to Fitwell if you haven't already. Above the park there is Merry Christmas in a ton of languages. It is possible that they were naughty and snuck in something profane in one of the languages. But it's actually not, because this entry was made by Ricardo Wardo, who doesn't do things like that. None of us guessed this creator correctly, earning him the Special Deceiver Award. Congratulations. The most notable thing about this park is that either the ducks are swimming in the ice, or the ice skaters are skating on water. Here there is a choir, but they seem not to have an audience. I think in this general area there could have been more stuff, maybe. They have not forgotten to build a toilet, though I think it would have been funnier if the toilet was in the church. This entry was made by Fitwell. Thank you, Fitwell. Chinese people have thought very deeply about the universe and decided that the universe is characterized by a unity of opposites that they named yin and yang. Yang is the light and yin the dark. They also say that yin is feminine and yang is masculine. But many things are the yins to the yangs of other things. And at the heart of every yin, there is a yang. And there is a yin at the heart of every yang. So deep down, all men are women. But I suppose that if you go even deeper than that, men are men again. And it's turtles all the way down. I don't really understand Chinese philosophy, but this is a very nice park. It's a fairly reasonable middle way between wild artisticalness and sensible realism. This entry was made by Riziko. Thank you, Riziko. We hope you return to the server soon. This entry is inspired by an existing dark ride, but it looks nothing like it. It's like an artistic rendition. Though there are no racially diverse elves in this park, it still somewhat captures the Droomvlucht essence. My mom also really likes Droomvlucht. Something that is interesting to note is that they misspelled the recipient's name. They swapped the A and the E. I think it's an improvement. Apparently it's pronounced Anda, but Andea is actually a much nicer name. This entry was made by SolX. Thank you, SolX. Tell your students to subscribe to Dirklink. A Christmas card. These people are having some fun in the snow. This peep is almost falling. You need to be really careful when ice skating. I know a girl called Lidewij who fell on the ice when she was 15 and she never recovered. This happened in the year 1396. This entry was made by The Brew. Thank you, Brew. I did not know that Mamarias was a Kwanzaa celebrator. If you don't know what Kwanzaa is a holiday created in 1966 by Maulana Karenga during the aftermath of the Watts riots. It is intended to be a non-Christian, specifically African-American holiday. This menorah-looking thing is the symbol of Kwanzaa. The black candle in the middle represents unity. The green candles on the right represent earth. And the 3 red candles on the left represent the struggle of African Americans or the shedding of blood. But that may actually be incorrect. I recommend that you do your own research because I don't actually know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, let's look inside these buildings. This motion simulator seems to be playing an 1898 short film by Georges Méliès. I hope they remake it soon. Over here there are bugs fighting bots, which might be a reference to Helldivers 2, where you have to fight bugs and bots. But it may also be a reference to something even more obscure. And here we have Mama's Kitchen, because apparently Mama Rias is great in the kitchen. This entry was made by Hobion. Thank you, Hobion. Here is one where you need to delete a ride to open the present. I am now less amused by that than I was last time, but whatever. Inside is a romantical little railway with very strange vehicles. I think the splash boat is surprisingly sensible as a railroad car. There is this elephant who can walk on water. It could be that he has acquired this power through faith in Jesus Christ, but probably we are meant to understand this water to be frozen. This entry was made by TallJK26. Thank you, JK. This entry does a thing where there are 2 scales to create the illusion of perspective. These helicopters look like they are closer and the buildings here are further away. They are presumably delivering the presents to the recipient of this entry. Solex is a physics teacher, hence the Newton's cradle. Though it surprises me, I guess he has a backyard, hence the backyard coaster, and apparently he has a motorcycle. Something I find fascinating is that they made the effort to build a larger helicopter for the larger gift. I would have just lazily made them all the same. This entry was made by Mamarias. None of us guessed this creator correctly, earning them the Special Deceiver Award. Congratulations! This is a street with a bookshop and a cafe. Look at this custom sign. That is indeed recognizable as a cat. Inside everything is decorated as well. There's literally 68 entertainers in this park. Clearly a big fan of Manticore's Peep Editor. I keep thinking that this is probably a real street, like maybe from Adam's hometown, But I can't find it. This Barncat Books is not something I'm able to find, or at least no store that looks like this. At first I thought it said Born Gay Books. On that note, this entry was made by Wes. None of us guessed this creator correctly, earning him the Special Deceiver Award. Congratulations! This is a street I am able to find. This is Universal Studios Hollywood. That is a theme park where the rides are all based around movies. The Universal people have apparently made a whole movie series about mummies. I would never see those movies, because I have only had bad experiences with mummies. But apparently there's an indoor roller coaster called Revenge of the Mummy, and you have to imagine that it is behind these buildings. Over here, also outside of the map, is a Transformers ride. So here you can take a picture with the Transformers. This entry was made by Manticore 007. Thank you, Manticore. A most romantical town. Santa's sleigh is an actual rideable roller coaster in this one. The station building is actually decorated on the inside. A massive waste of time to decorate buildings on the inside, because many viewers will not see it. Well, now they see it because I am showing it, obviously. But downstairs there's a Christmas tree with some presents, and on the top floor we find a guy called Sleepy Normal. This is a separate character from Supranormal. Supranormal is also here. He is singing. Judging by the stage he is standing on, he is singing about how Santa Claus exists. For some reason this piece of architecture is called Woof. This entry was made by Papa Neth. Thank you, Papa Neth. Another one where the park is gift wrapped. This time you don't need to delete the obstruction. Just select see-through supports and then Santa Claus appears. He looks quite youthful in this image. I think that they didn't use a very recent photo as a reference. Nowadays I think his beard is longer. It's a bit like that spaceship we saw earlier. I think actually that spaceship was done a lot cleaner. But this is actually something we all recognize. That makes it better, I guess. I think when it comes to instantly recognizable characters, Santa is only second to Satan. This entry was made by Rhythm. Thank you, Rhythm. I love it when people give the toilet such a prominent place in the park. This park is a recreation of Erlebnispark Tripsdrill, which sounds like something a witch would put in a brew. This is a recreation of a coaster called Carajo, but it is renamed Kinderajo because it is a slightly truncated version of this ride. Over here we see a little peep scene. Here we have Santa and his helpers, and on the other side we find Krampus and his minions. Over here is a spelling error. I hope that in Rollercoaster Tycoon 6 there will be a spell checker. This entry was made by 30. Thank you, 30. Rutschebane is, of course, a coaster most people know. It has no Wikipedia page, it seems, somehow, but it's known as the oldest still operating roller coaster in Europe. It's built in 1914. Apparently the top speed is only 50 kilometers an hour, but it is still regarded as a relatively intense coaster nonetheless. There is a guy on Dirkling's Discord, his name is Jasenden, and he used to be a brakeman on this coaster. Over here there is a peep scene where they are saying, "The new brakeman is insane." Yeah, Merry Christmas to that guy. They probably miss Jasenden. Here there is a toilet that is completely inaccessible to the guests. Ah! This park was made by Timmy Tuner. Thank you, Timmy. Oh, this is such a great park. Here's the amazing story they wrote. Thanks to overpopulation, Santa just can't keep up with demand. Luckily, Nutty Claus is here to save the day with their super top secret base aptly hidden under the voyage at Holiday World in none other than Santa Claus, Indiana. With a crack team of DKMP helper elves, refurbished SpaceX delivery rocket and the latest in Naughty Nice dispatch technology, Nutty Claus is the secret Santa we all need this Christmas. That's the story. In the staff window we can see that indeed the helper elves are all DKMP members. Over here we see the computer judging who is naughty and nice. Now, I have opinions about this. I don't like how in most tellings of the Santa Claus narrative, kids are divided into naughty and nice. The way I see it, asking if a child has been naughty or nice is like asking if a zebra is black or white. Reality simply is that all kids have been both naughty and nice. You see, in traditional medieval Europe on St. Nicholas morning, kids would actually find two items in their shoe, a piece of coal and a piece of fruit, to signify that Santa has judged them not just naughty, not just nice, but naughty and nice. Because such is the reality of the human condition. Of course, I made that up. We don't actually know how Santa Claus operated in medieval times. But that's like an expression of what I mean. Humanity is this battleground. Similar to how you could ask if a zebra is black with white stripes or white with black stripes, you could ask yourself if people are essentially nice with moments of naughtiness or if they are essentially naughty with moments of niceness. Now, philosophers and theologians have debated this very topic. But just like with the zebra, I think it is the wrong question. There is no essential difference between white with black stripes and black with white stripes. You're describing the same thing. So too, neither naughtiness nor niceness is the thing that is fundamental to human nature. Rather, the conflict between those two is. This is what Christmas is ultimately all about. Often it can seem that it's all dark, but there's always light for those with eyes to see. Now it is good to be weary and lament the state that mankind is in. Surely you know the perdition of this age. But we must not blaspheme the light by claiming that it is not there. Just like how the most holy people we can think of face temptations until the end, even the most wicked people are in their nature a battleground. This is my view on human nature. I think I am actually understanding Chinese philosophy somewhat. So that is why I think Santa Claus should not be having naughty and nice lists. I think that by doing this, you endow your children with a view of humanity that is in error. And incidentally, this entry is made by In Error Predicting a Fault. Thank you, In Error. A very artistic rendition of a Christmas tree. If you are not already impressed, if we rotate, the text changes from Merry Christmas to Merry Christmin to Merry Chrysler to Merry Crisis. Over here we have a reference to the counting channel on Dirkling's Discord. If you are a big fan of counting and you are interested in joining the counting people, you should join the Discord server. Discord is famously completely free, but you also know what they say about products that are completely free. Though I see no reason why that couldn't apply to paid products as well. This entry was made by Supranormal. None of us guessed this creator correctly, earning him the Special Deceiver Award. Congratulations! We have a ton of weeps in our community. I did not know Timmy Tuner was also a weep actually, but apparently his Secret Santa knew more than me. So this guy is called Josetze Sha. This is a typical Google Translate name. This is meant to translate to snow remover, but obviously Sha means vehicle, so he is a snow removal vehicle, which he isn't. The word that they are actually looking for is Josetze Sagyoin. Though I guess we are ultimately dealing with a fictional occupation, because in reality snow removal is not done with a broom. All these peeps over here are Timmy Tuners from various universes. This is like a crossover event into the Tuniverse or whatever. This entry was made by Isao. Thank you, Isao. Here's one with the disappearing roof trick. If you turn it, it is gone. This works because diagonal track pieces work in a really weird way. Like we saw earlier, another coaster that is themed to Santa's flight. It's a really sweet little layout, though I guess the throughput is a little low, with only 4 riders per train and 2 trains. If I were like the theme park executive, I would replace this beautiful theming with something more boring, so the coaster gains a higher throughput. The cutaway reveals a seating area with a cozy fireplace, and they were sensible enough to include a toilet. But this peeps walking through closed doors is a pet peeve of mine. This entry was obviously made by The Brew. The majority of us guessed this creator correctly, earning him the special Community Icon Award. Congratulations! I'm a big fan of this poster. Truly magnificent work, but I'm going to delete this coaster because it's making an annoying sound. I did not know that there were so many Six Flags parks. I thought basically that the ones in the game were all there were, but apparently Six Flags Over Georgia is another one. So this park has a coaster called Georgia Scorcher. Together with some other toys, a transformer and golf things, 30 received a special model kit of this coaster. Apparently you need to be older than 30, so I sure hope that 30 is older than 30. I am not a big fan of golf. I think we should turn all golf courses into farms. This entry was made by Madezolk. Thank you, Madezolk. I said that how the parks and the recipients relate to each other often either does not matter or requires intimate knowledge about the people in our community. Here's an example of an entry where I'm going to have to ask you to give Josh the benefit of the doubt and assume that this is not a joke about the coke addiction he might suffer from, and that this is in fact one of those parks where the recipient and the park have quite little to do with each other. Because here we have a scene where there are these helicopters that are transporting coaster track, but they are leaking coke. It looks like Happy Christmas Snow, but it's actually Christmas coke. Here we have a croc on coke, here we have Bob making a coke angel, and this guy is also on coke. It is truly remarkably silly. I must say that this is really well made, but also not really my brand of humor. It has to not go unsaid, however, that alcohol is worse than coke. This entry was made by Max Arceus. Thank you, Max. Bizarrely, Adam received 2 parks. It shows how thankful people are that he organized this event. This lighthouse is really fascinating. It's actually made out of ride vehicles. These are all log flume boats. This is a really unique technique that allows you to create this tapering in the building. Quite possibly the best lighthouse ever, and people build lots of lighthouses. An example of something that is great about it is the fact that on this side it is white, and on the other side we can see the color of the sunset. The rockwork, in my opinion, looks a bit floppy. A lot of it is done with the Sphinx object. I think that these more advanced techniques don't always give the best results, though I also feel obligated to respect it. It's crazy to see the same creator in the top 5 twice, because this entry was also made by Max Arceus. The majority of us guessed this creator correctly, earning him the special Community Icon Award. Congratulations! I have to point out though that receiving the Great Deceiver Award is more prestigious. Now we are about to see a recreation of a scene from the movie Klaus by director Sergio Pablos. In this movie Santa Claus is just named Klaus, because this is meant to be before he died and went to heaven, so he's just some guy named Klaus at this point. This entry is supposed to line up with a YouTube video, but because Dirklink doesn't want to risk getting copyright striked, that's something you have to imagine. So this scene occurs after Klaus has had a conflict with his companion Jasper. And there is this kid who wants a sled. But Klaus doesn't want to make toys anymore, so Jasper decides to try to make a sled himself. So then Klaus, he is hilariously represented by the panda train vehicle here, Klaus sees that, gets moved by that and decides that he will make toys again. Then there's some stuff I don't understand, and then they deliver the sled onto the child. And the child actually sees one of the Sami people. And of course the Sami and the Scandinavians have a complicated relationship. So this is actually a turning point in human history. I only read the film's Wikipedia page, so I don't actually know what I'm talking about. Of course, I am a park purist. I want to see actual parks with rides and toilets, but I think syncing it up with a YouTube video is a really cool concept. This entry was made by Natty's Dreamland. Thank you, Natty. For this one, first we have to delete these interesting go-karts that are standing in for green Christmas things. They make a distracting noise. Now, Dirklik always does a little drum roll before revealing which entry is the winner, but I think that's gay in the non-homosexual sense of the word. So this is the winner, and not surprisingly, for those who don't know, this is a recreation of the mall that the brew had made for the compact inverted coaster contest. It is, of course, a slightly smaller version. I think this slightly smaller scale actually works in its favor somewhat. Like many elders in our community, the brew sometimes builds buildings that are slightly out of scale. This probably comes from a desire to include as much detail as possible, but maybe things in America are actually truly literally out of scale in this way. Here's them side by side. Now here it says Dick's Sporting Goods, which shockingly is actually a real company. But Cracking Goods, unfortunately, does not exist. Not yet, at least. Inside there are many things that are also funny. Here is, for example, the Burger Cave, which is a channel on Dirklink's Discord server. The Burger Cave is where people post memes, jokes and other things that are stupid. These yellow shirted peeps all have names of things you can type so that a bot posts a funny GIF. This is a feature that many people are very enthusiastic about. Over here we have what I presume to be the brew's hobbies. Over here someone is drowning, which cannot conceivably be a hobby, and over here the brew is honored as a wise elder who gives advice. This is accurate to real life. This entry was made by Anda23. Not only has he achieved the highest score, none of us guessed this creator correctly, earning him the Special Deceiver Award. In addition to that, I would also like to honor him with the special Banaanfanaat Toilet Award for the fact that he placed down 4 toilets. Congratulations, Anda. I am glad I asked you how your name was pronounced. There is one more award to be awarded. The All-Seeing Eye Award, which is the award for guessing the most creators correctly. This is the most prestigious award an individual can win. I also considered giving out another award called the Brainworm Award, which would be the award for the person who has guessed the most. This would be the brew, who was guessed 41 times. However, a large quantity of these guesses were correct guesses, which is also the reason why I awarded the brew the Community Icon Award earlier. It's not really fair if one award is the side effect of another. Now, if we decide to count only incorrect guesses, however, the winners are Herbert and Mamarias, who had each guessed incorrectly 25 times. However, these two both have won the Great Deceiver Award already, which means these were most likely the creators that were only guessed because they were leftover options. Again, one award should not be the side effect of another. These 3 players are free to consider themselves winners of this award if they really want to. In fact, anyone could give anyone any reward if they like to. You could, for example, make up an award yourself and award it to a player in the comment section down below. You don't even need to justify it. But that does not receive the official Banaanfanaat recognition. So with that potential award out of the way, it is finally time that I reveal who wins the much revered All-Seeing Eye award. 2 players guessed the same amount of creators correctly. 30 and Maxartius. However, only one will win the All-Seeing Eye award. One of these players made 2 parks, meaning he had an extra freebie, this being Max. Arguably, his parks were also very easy to guess for everyone else. Arguably, they did about equally well. But still, for guessing instead of knowing one more park correctly, it is 30 who wins the All-Seeing Eye award. Congratulations. I hope this victory is meaningful to you. Soon it will be Easter. You could say that the Easter Bunny is already pregnant. It would be cool if we would do something similar for Easter. We could also do something else. Or nothing. I will leave you with a song written specifically for this occasion, based on a beloved Christmas song about a woman and her unmet desires. Many famous singers seem not to know, but singing is most fun when done together. I will be joined by my frequent collaborator, DKMP's 7-3. Please try to enjoy it.
Secret Santa, I thank you for the spark that you made. Think I rate it 9.5. Secret Santa, I really like this food I do. Secret Santa, though some rides do look frumpy as hell, I can tell you make them with love. Secret Santa, I really like this Discord I joined. Think of all the fun we've had. 2024 was quite a year, not bad. This year could be just as good. I wish the clink was my dad. Secret Santa, I thank you for this spark that you made. Think I rate it 9.5. Secret Santa, I really like